We know that this is a very difficult period for everyone. This is clearly a setback in our fight against COVID-19, but we are resolved to keep fellow Singaporeans safe and to see Singapore safely through this crisis. So let's continue to stay united, to support each other, and do our very best, all of us, to keep cases down and get through this hump together.
Good afternoon, I'm Olivia Quay. In light of rising COVID-19 cases in the community, there will be tighter measures in place for 4 weeks from this Sunday until June the 13th. A review will be done after 2 weeks to see if the measures need to be further adjusted. Well, first up, the cap on social gatherings will be cut further, with people only allowed to gather in groups of 2, down from the current 5. This will apply to households as well, which can only receive 2 distinct visitors a day. And as announced last week, people are advised to keep to no more than 2 social gatherings per day. An exception, though, is grandchildren being cared for by their grandparents on a daily basis. But grandparents are strongly encouraged to be vaccinated and should also minimize intermingling between grandchildren from different households. Workplace measures will be tightened as well. Working from home will be the default at workplaces, no longer the current 50% of staff in the office. Employers should also continue to stagger start times for those who need to return to the workplace and implement flexible working hours.
Move in quickly to trace, test, and isolate infected cases have been effective, and they have helped to bring some of the recent clusters in Tan Tock Seng Hospital and Pasir Panjang Terminal under control. But since then, we've also had this new and very worrying cluster in Changi Airport emerge. We have taken actions to close the airport to the public, to ring-fence these cases, but because we do not know how far the transmission has occurred into the community, we do have to take further, more stringent restrictions. And therefore, we are tightening measures significantly in the community.
Also from this Sunday, indoor activities where people are unmasked for a prolonged period will be banned. These include dining in at F&B outlets and hawker centres, strenuous indoor exercise activities, facials and saunas, as well as singing and the playing of instruments that require intentional expulsion of air.
The recent cases suggest, as we have already highlighted, that the mutant strains, the new strains of the virus are more infectious, and the risk settings where infection can take place are when people are in an indoor environment without their mask on. And that's why we are focused on tightening restrictions in such a setting. As I explained, we had already done so earlier for activities in the gyms and fitness centers where you are unable to keep your mask on. And now the next step, as we have highlighted, is to restrict such activities in F&B establishments, and therefore no more dining in. In other settings, outdoors, or when you are in a space but you are able to keep your mask on, we believe with safe distancing, with proper precautions and safeguards, these activities can still continue.
To minimize the likelihood of large clusters forming, event sizes will be scaled down further. Congregational and other worship services can continue with a reduced capacity of 50 attendees at any one time without pre-event testing, or up to 100 attendees with pre-event testing. Masks must also be worn at all times, and singing won't be allowed. The occupancy rates for shopping malls and showrooms will also be reduced further. Odd and even date entry restrictions on Sundays for popular malls will continue. The operating capacity of attractions that have received prior approval will be reduced to 25% from 50%. Up to 100 people may be allowed into cinemas with pre-event testing. Without that, only up to 50 people may be allowed. Group sizes must remain at 2 people, and food and drinks are banned. The cap for attendees applicable to all days of funerals, including the burial or cremation, is 20 people or less, down from 30. Wedding receptions will not be allowed from this Sunday, but solemnizations may continue with existing safe management measures. The government will consider making special arrangements for couples getting married this Sunday, the day these measures kick in.
We know that there is one group who will be particularly impacted too, which are wedding couples. Some of them may already have wedding plans for this coming Sunday, and it may be very hard to make last-minute changes. So if there are such couples who are impacted, we are prepared to consider grandfathering the arrangement just for the wedding couples who have already made plans for Sunday. They can proceed, but we will require them to put in place pre-event testing for all their guests. But this is a special arrangement only for this Sunday because this is a once-in-a-lifetime event for the wedding couples. The changes are coming in very soon and may be hard for them to change, so we are prepared to consider this only for this Sunday for wedding couples.
In light of the ban on dining in at F&B establishments, the government will enhance the job support scheme for such businesses.
In view of this new restriction, the government will increase the job support scheme support rate, the JSS support rate, to 50% for F&B firms, and this will be an increase from the 10% support for which is applicable today. This increase in support will be applicable during the period for which dining in is prohibited. At the same time, to support hawkers and coffee shop stall holders who are self-employed and do not benefit from the job support scheme, the government will provide 1 month of rental waiver for hawker stall and coffee shop tenants of government agencies. We also strongly encourage commercial landlords to support their F&B tenants during this period.
46 cases and counting. Transport Minister Ong Ye Kung providing new details about the emerging cluster at Changi Airport. He said that despite the strict precautions and regular testing of workers, the mutant virus managed to break through the airport's multiple layers of defense.
Changi Airport, they have plotted the first 20 over infections they have detected and found that they are quite congregated. Most, in fact, congregate around one zone. And this is the zone with a finger pier that receive higher risk countries' arrivals, including South Asia, and then the conveyor belt and immigration. So it's that whole zone. And infections were all around that area. So that zone is our equivalent of Ward 9D, like Tan Tock Seng Hospital. And from that zone, workers go have their lunch, go have their meals at the T3 basement 2 commercial areas and the food court. And we suspect from there it transmitted to members of public that visited the place.
And with the rising number of cases here, both linked and unlinked, Mr. Ong said it's unlikely that Singapore will meet the criteria for the travel bubble with Hong Kong, currently planned for May the 26th. Singapore's case numbers will be closely monitored in the next few days before a decision is finalized next week. So as we prepare to go into a month-long period of heightened alert, the ministers are once again urging everyone to be vigilant and cooperate with the additional measures and to see a doctor and get tested if you feel unwell.
We should remind everyone, so long as you feel sick, you are not feeling well, please do not go to school, do not go to work. Report sick, go and see a doctor immediately, and in the meantime, isolate yourself. We have seen from recent experience and the recent cases, when the people do that very promptly, they are able to limit the spread of the virus, so it doesn't go on to other settings. It's confined to themselves and maybe to 1 or 2 other people in the household. and therefore it stops the spread of the virus very quickly. On the other hand, we have seen cases where people feel sick, they are sick, they may even have a fever, but they continue going to work and only see the doctor later on. And unfortunately, when this happens, the virus would have spread to many other people, be it at work or in other settings.
Visit straitstimes.com for more details on today's press conference. You can also watch the full press conference on our YouTube channel later today. Subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Olivia Quay. Do catch the big story later at 5:30 p.m. where we'll discuss these developments with an expert. See you then.